Shalom, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, and I do so by Shem Yahushai. It's your brother Ratazach, back at it again with another video. And this time we're going to go over the serpent in the garden. Which garden? The Garden of Eden, right? So we're going to start off with Genesis chapter 2, verse 9. And I'm going to break down who is the serpent in the Garden of Eden, right? This is Genesis chapter 2 and verse 9. And out of the ground made the Lord God to grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight and good for food. Now, before I continue, what are the trees? Right, we're going to explain what the trees are. So keep this in mind, right? What are the trees? And what is the food of the tree? Right, the tree, and then it says the tree of life, also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. So first, we're going to establish what are the trees, right? Let's go to Ezekiel 31 and verse 2. Right, it says, "Son of man, speak unto Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and to his multitude, whom art thou like in thy greatness?" So this is the Lord, right? The Lord telling Ezekiel, and he's telling him to speak to Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, right? So the context is Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and he said, who are you to be compared to, right? And your multitude. So you and your people. Who are you and your people compared to? You, Pharaoh, and the rest of your Egyptians. Watch this, verse 3. "Behold, the Assyrian was a cedar in Lebanon with fair branches." So he just said that the Assyrians are compared to a cedar, which is a type of tree. It says in Lebanon with fair branches, right? And it says, "And with a shadowing shroud, and of in high stature, and his top was among the thick boughs." Let's jump down to the last verse, verse 18. It says, "To whom art thou like in glory and in greatness among the trees of Eden?" So see, talking about the Garden of Eden, the trees of Eden, right? What are the trees of Eden? It says, "Yet shalt thou be brought down with the trees of Eden unto the nether parts of the earth." Now, what's another part of the earth? Talking about being buried 6 feet under, right? Sheol, right? It says, "Thou shalt lie in the midst of the uncircumcised." Wait a minute. If these are trees, how are trees uncircumcised? How can trees even get circumcised? So it can't be talking about an actual tree. It's talking about people, nations, right? It says, "Thou shalt lie in the midst of the uncircumcised with them that be slain by the sword." Trees getting slain by the sword? Right? It says, "This is Pharaoh." So this tree is Pharaoh and all his multitude, saith the Lord God. So he's saying these trees is Pharaoh and his multitude, the Egyptians. The Most High is comparing nations to trees, right? Or trees to nations, right? That's what it is, right? So the trees in the Garden of Eden are nations. And what is that good food? That food is that doctrine that they give off, right? Like when Yahushua said in Matthew 7 and 16, "You shall know them by their fruits," right? Their doctrine, what they give off, right? Now let's go to Genesis 2 and 16. It says, "And the Lord God commanded the man, saying," and this man is Adam, of course, saying, "Of every tree of the garden thou mayest freely eat." So he's saying, look, you can chill with all these nations. It's cool. Don't worry about it. You can chill with all these nations, right? It says, "But the tree of knowledge of good and evil," says, "Now, but this one nation over here, right, shalt thou not eat of it, right? For in the day that thou eatest thereof, thou shalt surely die." So he said, if you chill with this nation, you're going to die, right? What does it mean to die? He wasn't literally saying you're going to drop dead. He's literally saying that, you're going to be destroyed for lack of knowledge. You're going to be destroyed because now you're instead of listening to my commandment, you're going away from my commandment. You're going against my commandment, Salakia. You're going against the Lord's commandment. And you're going to go and follow and serve another god. Because this serpent, right, which we're going to read in the Garden of Eden, right, the serpent, right, this tree of good and evil, right, because out of this tree, the knowledge of good and evil came the serpent. And he said, don't listen to them. Don't go over there, right? Don't chill with so-and-so. It's like today as a parent and you tell your kids, look, you could chill with them. You could chill with Blake. You could chill with, Tabitha, right? You could chill with John, but don't go with Billy and Bob over there. Don't go over there in the midst of them. Don't go to the trailer park home over there. Don't go over there. You could chill over here in the hood, but don't go over there in the trailer park, right? Right? Now, where else do we see? Because now, the Bible, a lot of times it also repeats itself, right? So it like when you read Deuteronomy, it means to say again, or second law, right? Second law. So where do we see where the Most High God says what? If you take doctrine from this tree, if you make a covenant with this tree, you will surely die. Meaning you're going to depart from me, right? You're better off dead to me, right? And like, here's a good one. You read Revelation 11 and 8, it says their dead bodies shall lie in the street of that great city, which is spiritually, right? So spiritually called Sodom and Egypt. So spiritually you're dead, right? Adam was of the dust, taken to a high state. And of course, when he did, he went down back to a low state. Back to the dust you go, right? So the Most High God said, look, I'm going to take you. I'm going to bring you up here. But the moment you start hanging out with them, you're going to be brought right back down. So you're going to be dead, right? Deuteronomy 7 and 1. Let's see where we see this written in Genesis, because this is a commandment that the Lord has given. And when you read Deuteronomy, it's just saying again for what was written before time, right? Deuteronomy 7 and verse 1. We're going to get context, right? It says, when the Lord thy God shall bring thee into the land whither thou goest to possess it, and hath cast out many nations before thee, the Hittites, the Girgashites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than thou. And when the Lord thy God shall deliver them before thee, thou shalt smite them and utterly destroy them, which we did not do, right? Thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor show mercy unto them, neither shalt thou make marriages with them. And that's what Adam and Eve did. They made a covenant, they made a marriage with them, right? Not a physical, not literally marrying them it wasn't a wedding, but marrying in the sense of now you're committing idolatry, because now you're following after another God. You're following them instead of following the Most High, right? It says, thy daughter shalt thou not give unto his sons, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son. This is the point, right? Remember, we just read, it says, thou shalt not eat of it, for in the day that thou eatest thereof, thou shalt surely die, right? Now watch this, Deuteronomy 7 and 4. For they will turn away thy son from following me, that they may serve other gods. See, adultery, spiritual adultery, idolatry, right? It says, so will the anger of the Lord be kindled against you. And watch this, it says, and destroy thee suddenly, right? The day you take their doctrine, you're going to be destroyed suddenly. For what? A lack of knowledge. Like it says in Hosea 4 and 6. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because why? You want to be one with the world. Instead of being one with them, you're supposed to be one with the Most High. And the Most High gave you a strict commandment. He said, listen, you could be with all these trees, but this tree don't be a part of. Right? Verse 5. But thus shall ye deal with them. Ye shall destroy their altars, break down their images, and cut down their groves, and burn their graven images with fire. So what happened? Adam and Eve broke the covenant and learned from the forbidden tree, or this nation, and tried to mix all those doctrines with the pure doctrine of the Lord, because these Canaanites, they have all these different doctrines and stuff like that, right? So when you think about it too, right? When you think about it, these Canaanites, Salakia. Oopsie, let me put this. Salakia. These Canaanites, they served other gods. They didn't have this one God. They served multiple gods, right? So all this indoctrinations and stuff like that too. Now you have all this, you have Egyptology. You got, I'm saying, Jake be wanting to mix in, Jake wants to just integrate with everybody. He wants to just be a part of everything. He wants to just fit in. Even though we're the best, you want to fit in with everybody else, and you want to be equal to everybody else, right? And that's retarded. The Most High God called you and told you you're at the top, right? This nation, he said, listen, don't have nothing to do with them. So when we see Deuteronomy 7 and verse 1 to 5, it's literally telling you what God told Adam and Eve in the garden, right? Don't follow this tree. Don't listen to them. They're going to beguile. They're going to turn you away from following me. Right, so what happened when they got guilty? They were following after that doctrine, and once they took off the doctrine, right? Once they took on this doctrine, guess what? Now they were destroyed for lack of knowledge, because now they're like, oh well, I mean, it's not too bad. I mean, that sounds good and all, like, you know what I'm saying? I mean, hey, we'll give it a chance. We'll give it a shot. Right? It sounds good, but was it good for them? No. The Most High God strictly commanded them not to listen and not to follow in the way of the serpent. Now let's go to Genesis 3 and 1. Salaki, this distraction is going around here too, but focus, right? That's the key thing. That's the main thing. And that's what That's why I like to bring on Isaiah 33 and 6, because it says the wisdom and knowledge will be the stability of thy times. Got to be stabilized, got to be staying firm, no matter what's going around you, no matter what's around us, right? We have to be circumspect, of course, but we have to understand, we have to stay focused. We have a task that we have a task that we must, what's the word I'm looking for? Just stay focused, right? All praise. So, going back to Genesis chapter 3, verse 1, now we're going to read about the serpent, right? So here we see, so far, it's talking about Canaanites so far, right? Watch this. This is Genesis 3, verse 1. It says, now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which Yahweh God had made, right? It says, and he said unto the woman, now watch this, why? Why does it say the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made? Why? Because this man, matter of fact, you know what? Before I bring it out, let's just keep reading, actually. Watch this. You know what? Hold on, wait. You know what? Hold on. I'm going to read it one more time, and then I'm going to break it down. This is Genesis 3 and 1. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. Watch this. Ezekiel 28 and verse 1. The word of the Lord came again unto me, saying, Son of man, say unto the prince of Tyrus, this is a Canaanite, it says, thus saith the Lord God, because thine heart is lifted up, and thou hast said, I am a God. Like, and you see, when you start feeling yourself, like for example, LL Cool J, when LL Cool J was feeling himself, he started calling himself God, right? Basically. And you see that with a lot of Jake get all puffed up. He get, you know what I'm saying? He feel like he all that, and then guess what? Now he out here saying, well, oh, I'm the shit, I'm the best, I'm God, right? And you can't be prideful, right? And this is what this Canaanite was doing. He was being prideful, and he was lifting himself up. And he said, what? It says, I am a God, I sit in the seat of God. So guess this is what this Canaanite was saying. The king of Tyrus, prince of Tyrus was saying he sits on the throne of God. Imagine that. Right, and it says, in the midst of the seas, yet thou art a man. So he's saying you're nothing but a man. You ain't the Most High, right? And it says, and not God. Though it says, though thou set thine heart as the heart of God. So he's really persuading himself in his own mind that I am the Most High, right? And it says, behold, thou art wiser than Daniel. He said, look, you're wiser than Daniel, and Daniel was a very wise man. It says, there is no secret that can hide from thee. With thy wisdom and with thine understanding, thou hast gotten thee riches, and hast gotten gold and silver unto thy treasure. By thy great wisdom and by thy traffic hast thou increased by thy riches, and thine heart is lifted up because of thy riches. So he's full of himself, right? It went to his head. So now let's go back to Genesis 3 and 1. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. This is that Prince Tyrus right here, right? He felt like he was at the top. He was souping himself up, right? And it says, and he said unto the woman, yea, hath God said, ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden, right? The serpent, he's basically, put it like this. If you ever go to New York City and you see these Canaanites, what are they doing? They out here hustling, right? They got all these so-called fake, fake Prada, Gucci, Louis Vuitton, all these, sunglasses, bags, book bags, purses, you know what I mean? Shirts, hats, hoodies, pants, sneakers. They got all these things, right? Knockoff and all that other stuff, right? You know what I'm saying? Throwaways. And guess what? They sell it to you at a decent price, right? Quote unquote. And they out there in the streets and they hustling, man. Right? And they're just trying to, and what are they doing? They're trying to beguile you. They're trying to, I'm saying like, hey, listen, I'll give you a good price. Don't worry, you know what I'm saying? All this, whatever. And you can't even try to sell on that same strip that they selling, because they'll tell you, hey, listen, you ain't my people. You can't, go over down there. Go somewhere else. We hold this over here. This is our turf, right? And that whole 42nd Street over there in New York City, right? If you ever go to New York City, it's a bunch of Canaanites out there. And Canaanites, that's what they doing, right? They're very subtle people. Right? And it says, and the woman said unto the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God has said, ye shall not eat of it. So he said, well, the nation that he told us not to go to is your people. We can't chill. We're not supposed to be hanging out with you, man. You know what I mean? It says, ye shall not eat of it, neither shall you touch it, lest ye die. So we're not even supposed to get your doctrine. We're not supposed to listen to your doctrine. We can't, and you know what I'm saying? You're trying to beguile us, and we're not going to fall for it. So she say, right? It says, and the serpent said unto the woman, you shall not surely die. Like, you ain't going to die if you just take a little bit of this. Just let me give you some doctrine. You be all right. Just let me tell you about my God. Let me tell you about how our ways of life are, right? It says, for God doth know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be open, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. So see, he try to trick them. Same thing how they do it, how these Canaanites do in the streets. They say, oh, you mean that Gucci over there, that shit expensive. Get it from me. I already give you $25 for this Gucci bag. He trying to hustle, he trying to lie to you. He's not trying to, he is lying to you. He's straight up lying. That's why they call him a serpent. He's a damn snake. This wasn't an actual snake. It's a person, right? And I'm going to prove it that this actually is a Canaanite. And even I ever explained that, you know, through the spirit and probably how by Shem and Shai with the precepts, according to Deuteronomy, he told us not to chill with the what? The Canaanites. So he said not to chill with the Canaanites. This serpent must have been the Canaanite. And we're going to prove more, right? And of course, Ezekiel 28:1, it right there just literally, it puts it into perspective to show you that this serpent is a Canaanite, prototype Canaanite, right? So let's keep reading. Verse 6. It says, and when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, so that, you know, she said, well, I mean, we could take some doctrine out of them. We could take a little bit. It wouldn't hurt just to like listen and just, you know, take some in. It might be good, right? It says, and thus, so like it, and it says, and that it was pleasant to the eyes. So it looked good, sound good, it feel good, but was it good for you? Because sin, that's what sin is. It look good, it might taste good, it might sound good, it might feel good, smell good, all of that. But is it good? No, it's evil. And the Most High God said we have to eschew from evil. And if you love the Lord, you hate evil, right? It says, and the tree is to be desired to make one wise. So they try to get wise. And look, we just read in Ezekiel 28. This Prince of Tyrus was the wisest of them all. He was very wise. And we're going to explain, elaborate more why the Canaanites are very, very wise people, right? And it says, and the tree to be desired to make one wise, she took the fruit thereof and did eat, and gave also to her husband with her, and he did eat also, right? So they both took it. They both say, you know what, we're going to give it a shot. We're going to listen to them. And they got so indoctrinated, they started forgetting of the ways of the Most High. And they started following in the ways of the Canaanites, right? And why were they so wise, right? This is one reason why they were so wise. Like, remember, who really discovered America? Let's put it like this. Let me ask you a quick question. Who really discovered America? Because America was been discovered, right? Watch this. 1 Kings 10 and 22. No, verse 11. So like it. 1 Kings 10, verse 11. And the navy also of Hiram. Now, this is King Solomon. Solomon, when you start at the top, it's King Solomon. King Solomon, right? He had made a navy. What's a navy? A navy is an army of ships, right? People that sail the seas, right? And it says, and the navy also of Hiram that brought gold from Ophir. So these are Canaanites that brought gold from Ophir, brought in from Ophir greatly plenty of almond trees and precious stones. So they went to a land where never man cried dwelt. No one was living there, and they was taking stuff and they was bringing stuff over to the western side of the world. For example, there were studies that they found cocaine in certain mummies, certain deceased bodies, right? So how did they get cocaine on the western side of the world? That was if cocaine is grown in Peru. Let that sink in your mind. How did they get that? And there was, you know what I'm saying, the Canaanites over there, the Egyptians, they all had it over there. So how did they get that? Let that sink in, right? 1 Kings 10 and verse 22 now. We go to verse 22. For the king had a sea, the king is this Solomon, had at sea a navy of Tarshish with the navy of Hiram. Once in 3 years came the navy of Tarshish, bringing gold and silver and ivory and apes and peacocks. So King Solomon exceeded all the kings of the earth for riches and wisdom. See? So this is King Solomon. He got so wise and so smart, right? Because he was using these Canaanites to do the work for him. Now they were underneath him. Now imagine if he was following their ways, right? That's crazy. But see that they was the Most High, Salakia. I'm gonna put it like that. The Most High, we got to give the Most High credit. Most High, because he gets all the credit. Most High used Solomon to have a navy of Canaanites, and they was the ones going around. That's how they was able, that's how they was so smart, because they was wise enough to be traveling the seas and everything, and be going and discovering things and then bringing them over. And then, you know, of course, giving it to King Solomon, right? Let's go to Genesis 3 and 23. It says, therefore, Genesis 3, verse 23. Therefore, the Lord God sent him forth from the Garden of Eden to till the ground from whence he was taken. So he drove out the man and placed at the east of the garden cherubims. Watch this. And a flaming sword which turned every way to keep the way of the tree of life. Now, if you watch my breakdown of Adam and Eve, right, through the Adam and Eve breakdown, right? Well, not the whole Adam and Eve breakdown. Through one man's sin entered the world. That's the breakdown. If you didn't see this, if you didn't see that video, pause this and go back to it, and you'll get the understanding of why I'm bringing this out, right? Because the man here, right? This man here is Adam, and he was kicked out of his home. That's the tree of life. The tree of life is his home, right? Which is in the Garden of Eden, right? Which is over there in Israel, right? And who's the cherubim? The cherubim are prototype Canaanites, right? Let's go back to Ezekiel 28, right? And I'm gonna read verse 12. It says, Son of man, take up a lamentation upon the king of Tyrus, and say unto him, Thus saith the Lord God, Thou sealest up the sum, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. Thou hast been in Eden, the garden of God. This is that serpent, man. Hey, Prince Tyrus, use that serpent. You was the one that was on top. You was exceeding yourself. You that serpent that begot Adam and Eve to turn from God and to follow you and your doctrine and your people. Your gods, I should say, your false gods, your deities, right? It says, every precious stone was thy covering, the sardius, topaz, and the diamond, the beryl, the onyx, the jasper, the sapphire, the emerald, and the carbuncle, and the gold and workmanship of the tabrets and of the end of thy pipes was prepared in thee in the day that thou was created. See, that's why that's why it was so intriguing to Adam and Eve, because they was like, yo, they got all this. Damn, I mean, you know how Jake is. I mean, these are prototype Jakes, but you know how Jake is. They see the stones, they see the diamonds, they see the gold, and it's like, cha-ching. It's like, oh my God, I need that, right? It says, thou art the anointed cherub that covereth, and I have set thee so. See that? That cherub, right? The cherub of what? The prototype Canaanites, right? It says, and I have set thee so, that was upon the holy mountain of God. That's Israel. Thou hast walked up and down in the midst of the stones of fire, right? That's right, that flame sword, because they were guarding the way, right? It says, thou was perfect in thy ways from the day that thou was created till iniquity was found in thee. That's the serpent. You're the serpent. The Canaanites is the serpent in the Garden of Eden, right? Because there was already nations already made. All those trees are nations, right? So what does it mean, right, when we just read that flaming sword, right? That flaming sword, when we just read Genesis 3. Let's go back to it. Genesis 3, verse 24. So he drove out the man and placed at the east of the Garden of Eden cherubims, prototype Canaanites, and the flaming sword which turned every way to keep the way of the tree of life. What does this mean? To keep the way means to guard, right? So they blocked the road, the path, or the way back home. So they couldn't go back home. The trees of the nations, which we already established that. And the Canaanites drove out Adam out of his home, right? Adam was formed from the dust, right? We went over this before. So which means he went from the bottom, took it to the top, and then Adam messed up, and he went back to the dust again. He went back to being at the bottom. So Adam screwed himself, and now he has to till the ground. That's what, you know, and again, you didn't see the video before you watching this video, I highly suggest you go watch that video, right? Genesis 3, verse 17. And unto Adam he said, because thou hast hearkened unto the voice of thy wife, and hast eaten of the tree of which I commanded thee, saying, thou shalt not eat of it. Cursed is the ground for thy sake, in sorrow shalt thou eat of it all the days of thy life. So Adam hearkened to his wife, and ate the fruit from the tree, which, meaning what? So that good, remember, the fruit is the doctrine, right? So it says what? He ate the fruit of the tree, meaning he took their doctrine. Now Adam and Eve are now indoctrinated, right? Not of the truth, but now of what the Canaanites were offering, right? Genesis 3, verse 14 and 15. And Yahweh said unto the serpent, for the prototype Canaanite, it says, because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle, And above every beast of the field, upon thy belly shalt thou go, and thus shalt thou eat all the days of thy life. And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. So what does this mean? The serpent and Adam's seeds will have enmity, which leads to war, and that's how Adam lost this war and got kicked out of his own land. You see how that plays out? The Canaanites and the Adamites, they was having war with each other. The Lord God told them, why? Why? You should have listened. Now you got to get kicked out. Now you're punished, right? I gave you the land of milk and honey, and this is what you do to me, right? That's how you know this is the prototype Jake, and it's the prototype Canaanites, because we see that later in Deuteronomy. Again, the same thing, the same story is being played out. But guess what? In the kingdom of heaven, look what's going to happen to the Canaanites. Zechariah 14:21. Yea, every pot in Jerusalem and in Judah shall be holiness unto the Lord of hosts, and all they that sacrifice shall come and take of them, and see if they're in. And in that day there shall be no more the Canaanite in the house of the Lord of hosts. Why? Because you was that serpent. See that? You was the serpent. The Canaanites are the serpent in the Garden of Eden. That was the nation that God said, don't mess with. Leave them be. You can chill with them. You can get information from the Asians, from them, from the prototypes, from all these other prototypes. But don't go to them, because guess what? They're going to turn you from me. And we see that in Deuteronomy 7, verse 1 through 5. Right? And also, remember what I said, because I was gonna say it, but I'm gonna say it. Then we're going to the end of this lesson, but I want to say this too. If you know about the Olmec, right? You have the Aztecs. You got the Mayans, which is so-called Salakia, the tribe of Zebulon and the tribe of Issachar, and in the midst of them you have the Olmec, right, on the border, right? That's why when you read Genesis, let me go to Genesis real quick. I'm gonna show you this real fast. I don't want to go off topic. Right, Genesis chapter 49. It says in verse 13, Zebulun shall dwell at the haven of the sea, and he shall be for an haven of ships, and his border shall be unto Zidon. Then it says in 14, Issachar is a strong ass contra between two burdens. Right, so you got Zebulun, then you got Issachar, but it says the haven of ships, Zebulun's border shall be unto Zidon, because who was the one there? The Olmec. Who were the Olmec? Canaanites. The Canaanites was already in America too. See that? So, and that's how they were so smart too, man. Because you look at the Olmec, man, right? You always have these Canaanites that were always dwelling amongst us, man. It's this serpent that's just trying to, you know what I'm saying? Like, this serpent was, the serpent, man, that's how you know it wasn't just always the so-called white man who was always the devil. The so-called Canaanites, you're the devil too. And listen, when Esau gets exterminated, and according to Obadiah, who's going to be at the bottom? You Canaanites. You're cursed, right? You're going to be at the bottom. You're going to be our servants in the kingdom of heaven. You're the next, quote unquote, Esau, basically, right? Esau gets exterminated, so who's going to be at the bottom? You are, right? All praise the Most High, right? So with that, I'm going to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, and I do so by Hashem Mashiach Yahushai. Right, with that, I say, Kwame Ashala and Shalom.